150 years ago, the United States of America entered into its bloodiest conflict, the likes of which no man had ever seen: the war between the states. One of the most glorious regiments in this conflict was the 28th Regiment, North Carolina Infantry. The rank and file of the Southern armies was composed of farmers and laborers who volunteered to protect their home and everything dear to them from northern invaders. Their desire was to keep their traditions and be left alone. There is no doubt the Confederate soldier loved the South with the principles and traditions that defined his Southern community. These men had a strong sense of pride and embodied that American idea that the states had a right to govern themselves. We should never forget that the state of North Carolina gave more men to the cause than any other, and approximately 40,000 Tar Heels died. First at Bethel, farthest to the front at Gettysburg and Chickamauga, and last at Appomattox, is a traditional saying honoring the role of North Carolina soldiers in this conflict. Join us and keep their traditions alive as we turn the clock back with the 28th North Carolina Infantry and honor the sacrifices of all those men by becoming a member of this glorious regiment. The soldiers of A.P. Hill's Light Division were considered one of the Army of Northern Virginia's finest. Hill's division saw heavy action and participated in more tough battles than any other in the Army of Northern Virginia. The 4th and 6th Brigades of the Light Division were made up of North Carolina Infantry. Brigadier General Lawrence O'Brien Branch commanded the 7th North Carolina, 18th North Carolina, 28th, 33rd, and 37th North Carolina. This brigade, which included the 28th, was later commanded by General James H. Lane after Branch was killed at Sharpsburg. For hard fighting. Interpret history as a brave, gallant Tar Heel through living history demonstrations and battlefield reenactments. The 28th North Carolina Infantry remains one of the most active organizations in reenacting. As an active soldier of the 28th, you will have unprecedented access to many prominent battlefields and historic sites. Experience Gettysburg, Spotsylvania, Appomattox, and many more breathtaking historic sites as never before. Walk in the footsteps of your forefathers and join us in these once-in-a-lifetime experiences.
Embarrass you, man.
No, I'm too old to get embarrassed.
But my drawers come down.
That's all if they didn't care much for.
The 28th Regiment North Carolina Infantry participates in events across the East Coast. You can enjoy recreating important historic moments in this nation's history and share your knowledge of the regiment and the war between the states with the public.
Walk around, take some pictures. I'll see you later, okay?
I'd have to say Fredericksburg for a one-day event. The 150th at Fredericksburg was. If you weren't there, you just don't understand. We fought through the streets. We heard the Yankees coming. They were over a hill on the street. Saw the flag, heard the drums, and it was just nonstop Yankees coming at us. And we'd fire and fall back, peel out, fall back. Next group, fire, fall back, and we just kept falling back through the streets until they backed us up into a side street and just gunned us down. And that ended that part of the morning fight. And then we went up to Marie's Heights that afternoon and got behind the wall. And we were 4 deep behind the wall, passing loaded muskets to the man on the wall, and just firing away. The Yankees came on the field, and it's the greatest. The Yankees really played well because they took the casualties like it was supposed to be. They were piling up in front of us.
Wow.
And for 45 minutes, it was nonstop fight.
28th Regiment during the entire war was 1,826 men. This regiment surrendered 17 officers and 213 men at Appomattox. Northern newspapers used to print that when the army of Stonewall Jackson was near, women and children hid and began to cry. But when A.P. Hill's Carolina boys were near, the Yankee soldiers knew they were in for the fight of their life. Join the 28th today and portray this glorious regiment. Honor the sacrifice of the men from the 28th Regiment North Carolina Infantry and all of those men who fought in the war between the states. When General Robert E. Lee and General Stonewall Jackson lay on their deathbeds, their last words were said to be the same: "Tell A.P. Hill to come up." The Carolina boys of A.P. Hill's Light Division, Lane's Brigade, never failed these famous generals in life, and they were on both General Lee's and Jackson's mind at their deaths.
3 cheers for the old North State! For the old North State! Forever! For the old North State! Forever! For the old North State! Forever!
As historians and descendants of Southern veterans, we must honor and preserve their history. Understand that 150 years later, you are the guardian of the memory of these men. Join the 28th Regiment North Carolina Infantry and preserve the history and legacy of these heroes so that future generations can understand the motives that animated the Southern cause.